Okay, counting it down for Bill's Bites with Wild Bill for America. Virtual studio is up. Beach background is up. Monitors 1 and 2 standing by and ready. All cameras on, aimed, and in focus. That means we're ready to go. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to PJNET Live. One of the weekly things we do here for fun and information is have Wild Bill for America join us live. He is awaiting in our green room, and he has several topics that he wants to share his views on tonight. And I will enlist the support of Alexa. Alexa, can you bring the monitors down, please? Thank you very much. And Bill's Bites, heard weekly on Saturday nights, 9 p.m. live. But of course, you may be watching this on YouTube. You may be watching it on social media. But Wild Bill for America is the YouTube sensation. Let's bring him into our studio right now. Bill, I just got in the saddle. You've already done one video today, and you really. Well, let me just cut the fanfare and drama. I'm proud of you as a brother in Christ for what you do on YouTube, and I commend you for a really good video on how ordinary people can fulfill the mission to share the gospel. Good job.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate your encouragement.
All right, you have identified several items in the news, and who has not heard about the state of Alabama passing new laws on abortion this week? What's your take?
I haven't heard about it. I just spent 4 days up in Gainesville with a friend who's having some very serious medical issues, and I ran this guy from appointment to appointment to appointment. He's going in for liver and kidney transplant, and man, we were in the pulmonary lab, the cardiac lab, the lab, the social worker, and all that stuff. And I just stayed offline for the whole 4 days I was up there. It was kind of a sabbatical. Okay. And now I come back, so I had to get back into the work, and holy baloney, there's a tsunami of screaming liberals who are just in a foaming mouth, spit flying rage over Alabama's abortion law. So apparently something really good happened in Alabama. So,
well, I know we're going to see more of this. I think states, as they anticipate an overturn of Roe v. Wade, they want the laws in place. One of the criticisms I've made on the political landscape is if we overturn Roe v. Wade, we now have 50 battles to fight. Sounds like some of these battles are already being fought and won.
That's the way it's going to have to go down. We can't avoid that. But what got my attention was all the left-wing liberal wacko women who are calling for a sex strike. They will no longer have sex with any man until their abortion rights in Alabama are restored. And I was thinking, holy mackerel, the liberals are calling for abstinence. I never thought I would see that in my lifetime.
For the wrong reason. My first thought was, that's kind of the way God planned it, but
don't say that to the liberals. You'll take all the fun out of it for them.
Yeah. And of course, the first question I would ask these women is, well, are you married?
And they would have no idea what you're talking about.
No, you might as well talk to a box of rocks. It'd be better. But it's kind of backfired. That one lady, Alyssa whatever, and she was going to go not only on a sex strike, she was going to not film a movie in Georgia or something.
Oh yeah, several actors are boycotting Georgia, so property values in Georgia just went up.
Yeah, well, Ron Howard came out and said that he's going to film in Georgia in spite of the so-called controversy. I don't think it's controversial at all. But
no, it's not. It's cutting down on the killing of children. What kind of human being could object to that? That's a whole other can of worms. The other question I'd like to ask some of these liberal women is, do they realize that if they had not aborted 50 million of their own children, they could have already had the dictatorship in America that they've been trying to get for so many years?
The Democrats are an endangered species. They kill their own.
Ah, oh man. Well, anyway, I'm glad that Alabama's leading the charge there. We need a case that will go to the Supreme Court so the Supreme Court can strike down Roe v. Wade. And that may be the end of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Wouldn't it be something if she bought the big one on the day that they took that vote? That would be appropriate. Well, anyway, from one liberal nonsense to another, climate change, the politics of fear, the number one money-making scam in human history, global warming. Of course, they had to change the title from global warming because all the scientific evidence said there is no such thing. So now it's just climate change, which we know as weather.
Weather.
Oh, anyway, the newspapers and no doubt other media are planning to up the anxiety level on climate change. They're going to start calling it climate crisis. Mm-hmm. And I see where The Guardian in the UK is issuing orders to as many papers as will listen to them to start including the crisis in every story they write. They are not going to give up on this liberal nonsense. And, well, you get right down to it, this climate change garbage is just another tentacle in the liberal war on God. Because, as America's leading liberologist, I can tell you, Coach, that liberalism is essentially founded on rejection of God and his word. And the idea that the earth is a fragile ecosystem that we are destroying. And if we don't vote Democrat, everybody's going to die.
And if we don't give a bunch of money to South Africa for our carbon pollution,
yeah,
I mean, that's the agenda. Bill, one of the best arguments I have heard against climate change, or whatever they want to call it, actually is not a scientific argument at all. You and I both live in Florida, and we know how developed the coastal areas are and the millions and billions of dollars invested in tourism along the Gulf, which the climate changeologists say will be underwater in the very near future. Here is the argument, and it blew me away. If there was any real possibility that would occur, the lenders would not offer mortgages to investors to speculate on coastal property. That's pretty powerful.
That is correct.
Because the lenders don't care too much about anything but interest,
And we can prove it to them. Take a cup or a glass, fill it as full of ice cubes as you possibly can, and then fill it up with water all the way to the brim and set it aside and watch what happens when that ice melts. Oh, is it going to overflow and flood your house? Will your desk suddenly be underwater? No. When ice melts, the water level goes down because ice is mostly air. Mm-hmm. A simple illustration like that done in the elementary and junior high schools would put an end to the global warming nonsense once and for all. There's nothing scientific about it. It's just political scare tactics, fear-mongering to beat money out of people that are too stupid to fill their cup up with ice cubes and watch it.
Hey, I want one of those cups. How do I get one?
Well, this is a One Nation Under God cup. I got this off eBay somewhere. But
the other one.
I have one here.
Trying to
Wild
tee it up
Bill
for
for America. This is what I use for my coffee with Bill in the morning with my friends. And you can get one of these off of Cafe Press. Just go to Cafe Press, Wild Bill for America, and fill it up with Black Rifle coffee. And we will all have coffee in the morning, coffee with Bill, and I will do more news busting my own style with Coffee Cup with my friends.
For the record, I'm sure YouTube is listening. That was not a paid endorsement. I received no compensation for that.
And you're not going to.
But next time I come down to see you, I am not leaving without one of those cups.
I got one in a box ready for you, but it'll cost you lunch at Cracker Barrel.
A deal. I wish we've only had time to spend together one time. We need to get together again, Bill, but time's crazy. Next up, Craig McMillan's excellent article on why I haven't read the article. Why the left hates America. Tell me.
That's a WorldNet Daily article. WorldNet Daily is where I go first every day to get the news. That's my go-to channel. And Craig wrote an excellent article on why the left hates America, and his case is this: their religion is big government.
Correct.
And as America's leading liberalologist, I can tell you that the ultimate goal of liberalism is the total domination and control of every person in America. And the way to accomplish that is with a government that is so big that they dictate what we're allowed to say, think, eat, where we're allowed to live, what we can teach our children, what we are not allowed to teach our children. The government that can tell employers who they have to hire and who they cannot fire. That is the liberal dream government. Well, the United States Constitution was written specifically to block that kind of tyranny from America. Founding fathers saw these days come, and I'm sure it was a divine hint that they were given. But just, the First and Second Amendments, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, drives the left nuts. That's what this H.R. 5, the Equality Act, is all about. It's the left's war on America's right to practice openly the Christian faith, to live out our faith, and to respect God publicly by honoring his model of marriage: one man, one woman,
One
for
time.
life. There's only two genders. Oh my goodness, biology is homophobic. So anyway, that is the big war of the left on America. Is they want to tear down the U.S. Constitution so that their big government, their big Hillary Clinton government, can just totally crush people like you and I who believe in individual freedom and for standing up for God's moral standards rather than the moral standards of the left. Man, feels funny even saying such a thing.
Well, at a more abstract level, this is just another page in the book of taking objective reality and substituting subjective opinion. Okay, gender is no longer, that is an objective reality. We've known this for not just a few years, but almost forever. But now gender is something you feel like.
No. Feelings are the most unreliable part of the human being. Feelings are screwy. They go with whatever wind happens to blow them in whatever direction. The stupidest advice ever given to a kid by a mother is, follow your heart. It will never lead you wrong. Yeah, baloney, Mom.
Bill, when I was training to be a pilot, before you learn anything about a plane, the instrumentation, any of that, they teach you two basic rules. Rule number one, trust your instruments, not your instincts. And that addresses what you just said.
Yes.
Okay, your instincts can be wrong. Trust your instruments. Rule number two, the only time you can have too much gas is when you're on fire.
Yes. Trust your instruments translates into the Christian faith into trust the scriptures.
Truth. Yeah, trust the truth, the recorded word of truth. And we've moved into a post-truth culture where truth is relative and morals are relative. Gender is relative. We're in a post-truth culture. We've rejected truth and substituted feelings and lies.
Yeah. Yep. That is a recipe for a screwball society. Welcome to modern America. That just raised a question, Coach. The atheists get mad at me a lot because I put out, anti-evolution videos, pro-Christian videos, and they're always trying to stand on the scientific principles, and challenge me to provide scientific evidence for biblical reality and so on. Well, where do the atheists stand on this transgender nonsense? If they are hardcore science guys, they have to be two genders. Biology is a black and white thing. So I'm going to have to tweak the atheists by making a video asking them where they stand on the transgender nonsense. Might put a few of them in an awkward position if they're liberal.
The global changeologists are screaming that science agrees. The vast majority of scientific thought agrees that the global warming. Well, the vast scientific community also at one time thought the world was flat. They also thought the sun orbited the earth. Science and truth is not a matter of consensus. bill.
That's right. Yeah,
Okay.
I agree. And let me tell you something. As far as this transgender stuff, the science people that have me most upset are the medical community. They know the hazards of this transgender crap that's being forced on our kids. 41% of transgenders attempt suicide. You know, the medical community was not at all shy about lecturing us about smoking and drugs and obesity. Why are they missing in action on the homosexual,
Hmm.
transsexual agendas? They
Conspicuous by their
know the
absence.
horrible health hazards of homosexual behavior, and yet the medical doctors of America are shamefully silent on this topic. Calling Dr. Chicken, where are you guys? It's time for you to come out from behind your office doors to get into the fray. People are dying by the tens of thousands. Children are being destroyed for life, and you medical doctors are hiding behind your office doors because you are too terrified to take on the politically correct liberals in our government. So I'm shaming you guys and I'm calling you out. You are medical professionals. Act like it.
One recently on social media, the censorship is outrageous, but one profound, educated PhD, I think he was from Canada, offered up on either Twitter or Facebook and was banned for citing his own research. He's got a
Yeah.
PhD. I mean, where does this end? I don't know. Moving on, Trump again making news. He's got a plan for immigration.
He does. And I saw that when I got back from my sabbatical, and I rolled my eyes because, in my personal opinion, our immigration system is not broken in any way, shape, or form. It worked fine with Ellis Island all the way up to modern days. You know, the only problem with immigration is that it's been so trampled by the Democrats. Our laws have been massively violated. That's the problem with our immigration system. But then I read a little bit about Trump's proposal, and it piqued my interest. He is proposing a merit based immigration system where those who are well educated and have established themselves well in the world, who would contribute tremendously to our country, get top priority. And I have no problem with that. I would love to have a million more Melania Trumps and a million less Somali barbarians, to put it bluntly.
I'm trying to Google something because the left often cites the Statue of Liberty and how
Give
we
us your
welcome
huddled
all.
masses, your poor, your huddled, well, blah, 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 that one.
Yeah, but they
Yeah.
they don't read the rest of it.
Yearning to be free.
I'll
Well,
I,
while you're looking that up, let me go
Go
on a
ahead.
little
Yeah.
diatribe about how we ended up with so many Somalis in America. This was way back in the days of Ted Kennedy, a flaming liberal Democrat. And the Democrats know that poorly educated, backwards people are much easier to control than well educated, armed people. So they went on a worldwide search to find the dumbest and most uneducated people they could, and they found the Somalis. So you wonder why Minnesota is overrun with tens of thousands of Somalis? That's why. The Democrats selected the Somalis as the most backwards and easily controllable people in the world, and they brought them in by the hundreds of thousands, giving them welfare checks. And now Minnesota is a good example of what has happened. We now have, you know, congressional representatives of Hamas from the Somali population that has overrun Minnesota, so that the Minnesotans can no longer vote in their candidates. That is the despicable Democrat plan for all of America. Trump's plan totally puts the kibosh on bringing in the dumbest, most criminal, riffraff, scumbag immigrants that the Democrats love because, hey, riffraff tends to vote Democrat. So I'm all for Trump's new immigration reform. Let's bring in the best of the best. I don't recall any police reports involving crimes by the Swedish bikini team. So, hey, we have a new immigration plan. Bring it on. Let the liberals scream.
I wonder. I can't find the quote I'm looking for. I was on the air the other night with Roger, and we have come to the conclusion that Minnesota may come in play because they have gone so far with what you just mentioned and electing this Muslim who is so outrageous. Even Nancy Pelosi is tapping her on the shoulder, said, "You need to dial that back a little bit and issue an apology." We may get Minnesota back.
Well, I don't know how they're going to do that without removing 100,000 Somalis.
Well, it's backfiring. One of the things I've suggested as a way to repeal Obamacare is just implement it. Don't phase it in, just implement it, and it would get rejected summarily.
Or give the American people an opportunity to vote on these issues.
There you go.
Give the American people the opportunity to vote on whether we should accept immigrants from dirt poor, terrorist sponsoring criminal nations. You know why? One of the big reasons this country is in such a pickle, Mark, is because the courts force these things on us, not the American people. It's how we got this homosexual transgender nonsense. The American people in all 50 states voted down gay marriage. California slapped it down decisively. But the federal courts overruled the will of the people.
By gavel.
So I say, let the American people vote on these issues. Let us decide what our immigration policy should be. Put them on the 4-year ballot. Every time there's a presidential election, have these things on the ballot so that all of the American people can have a say-so.
Yeah, it's funny here in Florida, and I presume it's similar in other states. When election time comes around, we can vote on amendments to our Constitution, vote yes or no. Yet there's I don't know of any opportunity to vote for an amendment on the Constitution such as you just suggested, where the American people can directly vote, saying no, I don't want that.
Yeah, no, we're not going to be voting on amendments to the Constitution. No way. Just put it out there as policy. Should the United States government allow immigrants from terrorist nations, or should it be severely limited? Word it properly.
Yeah.
And let's get the Swedish bikini team in there. I'm pretty sure they'd get voted in.
I'm going to have to Google that Swedish bikini team. Speaking of homosexuals, here, I was concerned, or I was curious, let me say it that way, that the Democrats, now they control the House. Are they going to spend all of their time investigating, or are they going to spend some time legislating? And it looks like they're doing a little bit of both, or a lot of both, because now they've come out with the Equality Act, which is a misnomer, where subjective opinion and feelings is now going to replace observable fact with regard to the LGBT community and their rights. Now, Bill, let me ask you a question. For the record, are you in favor of discriminating against any group of people in this country, or are we all entitled to fairness under the law?
I believe in justice for all groups that abuse children, encourage terrorism, etc. They should face the wrath of the American people.
That's called justice. But I personally do not favor laws that discriminate against any group of people, even those whom I am morally opposed to. Okay, if someone wants to be a homosexual, God gave us the free will to sin, and I agree with God. However, they want more. They want entitlements. They want to be married. They want the state to recognize a state of marriage between two same-sex. Which, by the way, since there's no such thing as gender, how can that be?
Yeah, what they want is to force us to join them in their sin, and that is where we need to draw the line. And that particular group you're talking about has an unholy appetite for America's children. Mm-hmm. And we as Christians need to defend America's children from sexual perverts. I cannot believe the public schools have handed our children over to some of the vilest people in America. Yeah, I get upset about this, Mark. And am I discriminating against them? No. I say justice. I say protect the children. Leave the children out of the sexual question. If these guys have a legitimate case to make, bring it to the adults. Let's have a grown-up style discussion. And if you can convince us of the merits of your case, then by all means, we'll go along with it. But leave the children alone.
Good point. Did Joe Biden actually say gay rights trump religious rights?
Yes, it was several years ago, but that is a quote. Gay rights trump religious rights. And other Democrats are echoing this. And this is what H.R. 5, the Equality Act, is all about. It's eliminating Christianity as an excuse for opposing the homosexual agendas. And you know what that would do to the churches. This H.R. 5 would force churches to hire homosexuals at every level of the church. We cannot do that. Now, fortunately, this insane bill will never get past Donald Trump. But what if he wasn't president?
Mm-hmm.
H.R. 5 is going to come back again and again and again until there's a president who will sign it. And that will open the floodgates of open persecution against Christians in America. That will really, truly drive a stake through the heart of the First Amendment.
Look at the stark difference. When the Republicans had control of the House, they voted time and time again to repeal Obamacare, knowing that it wasn't going to happen. Now the Democrats are presenting, they voted for the so-called Equality Act, H.R. 5, and they know it's going to get turned down. But you know what? If they had, as you mentioned, a different president, they would still do it. They would pass it.
Yeah, and the only thing that could stop it would be the Supreme Court, and who knows what's going to happen there. This is why I'm praying that President Trump will pack the Supreme Court with constitutionalists that will give us a measure of protection for some time to come.
He promised it, and so far he's done a good job on that one. Trump has been under so much fire, but it looks to me like, and I almost kind of feel good about it, the tables are turning where the hunted or the hunters may well become the hunted, because Attorney General Barr is at the very least rattling his saber. Do you think he's going to really carry it out?
I don't know how many times we have been hopeful that justice would finally land on the bad guys in Washington, D.C., and we have been disappointed for 20 years. So I'm not holding my breath, but I'm hopeful, and I'm praying that, yes, indeed, the hammer of justice will finally land on Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and every America-hating, anti-constitutional lapdog minion of theirs, all the way down to the lowest FBI agent or bureaucrat. I would love to see it, but I've been so disappointed so many times expecting justice in Washington, D.C., that I'm skeptical at best.
I hope that he does, because I think it would be righteous, but also it would send a signal. You know, before you start launching these prosecutions and all that, consider the fact that if you fail, there could be retribution. That would put a counterbalance on the whole equation.
They have not been held accountable for any of their dirty deeds in the last 20 years. They get away with everything. They believe they are unprosecutable. And until that gets changed dramatically, their nonsense is going to flow like a broken sewer pipe.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you had your coffee cup.
What you got?
I have a cup of Russian collusion. You know what's in it?
What?
Nothing. I'll sell it to you for $25 million. Winding up, Mayor Pete, did he say that Christianity has extremists just like Islam? Are you an extremist, Bill?
I am. I am a Christian extremist. Christian extremist is loving your neighbor as yourself.
Also referred to as a disciple.
Peace on earth, goodwill towards men, and obeying God's moral law. There's the extreme part. Bill is practicing hatred against people who have the right to sin. No, I just agree with God.
I agree with God. That's the way I put it. You know, I don't hate anybody. Yeah. I just agree with God. God has more than an opinion about these matters, and you know what? He lets us decide. You know, we can sin, but it's never okay. And we're being asked to celebrate and accept that somebody needs to be called a G or an it or a something. We're being asked to accept homosexual marriage and celebrate all this pagan sewage. No.
Bruce Jenner is still Bruce Jenner.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And if I said that in New York City, I'd be up for a $250,000 fine for misgendering. Yeah, I'd love to take that to court. Your Honor, I respectfully ask that you require a DNA test to determine the evidence in this case.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, there's no way they would want that to happen. So.
All right. Well, folks, that's Bill's Bites. That's the news. And next week, we'll be back with more. Bill he has what he referred to as the gift of continuance. And folks, Bill has an opinion on everything, but let me say, again, tipping my hat to Wild Bill for America. If you are not subscribed to his YouTube channel, you need to go there and subscribe. He has an awesome ministry there. And Bill, I commend you for being a disciple of Jesus Christ and my brother in Christ.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's always a good conversation. We will continue to do some good work together. God bless you.
All right, folks. Wild Bill for America. Heard here on PJNET Live each and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. We look forward to seeing you again. If you see this video, like it, subscribe to the channel. If you would like, we'd love you to share it with others so that more people will hear more of the truth. Bill's Bites, right here on PJNET Live.